Welcome to Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Still, not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the first time.
And I'm Brent Allen, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the 47th time. But for the first time, I am looking for what Stargate is trying to teach us. You know, what are those sci-fi messages, those things that hold up a mirror to society, give us hope that things might be better in the future, or just tell us how to be plain better human beings to one another.
Brent, we're at the halfway point of Season 3.
Holy cow, are we? That's crazy.
Watching episode 11 of Season 3, Past and Present. Now, when we were getting ready to do the prediction last week, you told me this was a sequel to an episode, but didn't tell me which one.
It's true.
My guess is it's a sequel to Secrets, which is where we learned about all the chicanery and terroristy stuff going on with, in the Earth government stuff, or I guess the U.S. government. There's a little Babylon 5 that crept in there.
That was the one the news reporter came and approached Jack and was like, "I know all your stuff, dude," and then he got jacked. Yeah,
that's the one. So I think it's going to be a sequel to that, where we're actually going to meet some of these, other people that were anti-Stargate program. One's going to come into the SGC and start spilling the beans.
Okay.
I'm excited to find out about it, but I'm also excited to find out what cool things and factoids you've got about this episode. Brent, what do you got?
Nothing.
What?
Nothing. It's an unknown writer and unknown director we've never heard of before. It is the 11th episode. Air date, October 15th, 1999. So, it's still in that deal. Jeff, I will say this, though, just to kind of prep this episode. I will tell you this is not a sequel from last week's episode.
Okay.
However, I just need something. Remind us what happened in last week's episode.
Sharae. She dead. Sharae dead.
You went straight to that. You could have done anything out of that whole episode. You went straight to Daniel Jackson's wife is dead.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Huge.
It's a big deal. Just file that away in the back of your brain and know that this is literally the next episode.
Okay.
Well, with that, Jeff, it is time to go watch this episode. Hey, listen, if you're watching this and you're joining us for the very first time, first of all, welcome. You're amazing. You're awesome. So glad that you made it here. The way this works is, as I just said, Jeff and I are going to go watch the episode right now. He's never seen it. I'm watching it for the first time for messages. We're going to watch it right now together. If you're watching this with us on YouTube, just hang out because you're going to get our reaction to that video. And if you want the full unedited version of that, go over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bye Nerds.
And if you're listening to us on a podcasting app, to the audio version of this, we're about to join you on the other side of our episode recap, where I'm going to share my first time reactions. Brent's going to share the sci-fi messages that he may or may not have found in it. So Brent, let's shoot into the future with Past and Present.
Chevron 7 locked.
All right, Jeff, we have just watched Past and Present for the very first time. I'm interested in where you are. I don't actually have a good sense on where you are on this, so lay it on us. Talk to us about your first watching experience of Past and Present.
I think that I'm going to lay something at your feet here first. I think you telling me this was a sequel, I understood it all so much more quickly than I think I would have if I didn't know that.
Okay.
Also, I think the story laid itself out pretty well. This was I had a note somewhere in here that this is an awesome concept for an episode. We've talked a lot about how Stargate will take a piece of an older episode and create a whole new thing from it. It's not necessarily, continuity. It's just, hey, here's a cool thing we're going to revisit. This is an incredibly creative way to do that.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of stories in sci-fi around amnesia and things like that. And I'm going to say this one might be one of my favorite stories of how they've handled amnesia. Yeah. It's just cool. The idea that not only is it amnesia, but also that you are younger. It made you younger. You forgot everything. And so that mystery of there's all these old people we have pictures of and they're gone. We don't know what's going on. Well, because they're you. So it's cool. And I think that it was put together really well. There were a handful of times that I thought this was going to be a different episode. Like at one point, they started talking about the Dorgal, and I thought, oh gosh, it's going to be a climate episode where they talk about how they had a pesticide that did this and it caused all these other issues. That was there, right? They touched a couple of times, hey, they were destroying their world.
Yeah.
This was bad, but it wasn't that episode. Then I thought it was going to be a Daniel grieving the loss of his wife kind of episode. And there's pieces of that in here, but really this was just pure science fiction.
Yeah.
That was fun and awesome until the very end.
And then
it all fell apart. So
yeah, I'm just so glad to hear you say that. I'm just so glad to hear you say that because
So Orner takes the antidote and like within a couple minutes, he's like, I'm Nodal. I remember everything. I'm married to you. This is awesome. And then she takes it and there's this whole thing about having two people inside of her. What? Everything from that point to the end of the episode ruined everything. Like I was literally thinking about this as a top 5 episode for this season. Like I love the idea. Not the first time Stargate has dropped the ball in the conclusion of an episode, in my opinion. But yeah, like my note here, I'm just like, how does this work? This doesn't even make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm looking at it just from a storytelling standpoint, there was this whole weird thing going on where like everybody knew what was up, but no one would say what was up. You know, it's like, hey, we all know she might be Linnea. She knows she might be Linnea. We're not going to talk about it and we're still going to be secretive. So they created a situation that forced her into going to take this antidote. And then it works all weird for her. Fun journey, neat episode, fell apart at the end. My big takeaway in this one, though, conversation point, what makes you you? Right? So we got Linnea. Total genocider, right? Destroyer of worlds.
Yeah.
One of my favorite notes that I took on here. Oh my God, Kira is Linnea. I guess Daniel is the destroyer of her worlds. But it just really made me think about that. You lose all of your memories of who you are, but it's physically still. Is that who you are? The accumulation of your memories? Kira was a very different person than Linnea.
Yeah.
So different, they came up with a whole protocol to make sure they kept Linnea, who's still there, but kept her suppressed and everything. And so it's a very fascinating, I think, way. I don't know, just think, what makes you you?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that of this episode or just in general.
In general, Jeff, this is not my favorite episode. That's Brent's opinion.
Okay, that's
you
fair.
Know. I think your deal is fair. The first 2/3 of the episode, maybe even 3/4 of the episode, are actually relatively okay, and then it just kind of goes off the tracks.
Yeah.
But what you just said there is everything that I had written down. Are you responsible? Was Kira responsible for Linnea? Is she the same person? You know what this sounds to me like, Jeff?
What's that?
A lesser version of passing through Gethsemane from Babylon 5.
100%.
Was brother Edward, was he the same person as Chucky?
He thought he was, right? And just like Kira started taking that on with Linnea, very similar.
Well, and so, but does the fact that Kira wanted to off herself to prevent her from becoming a danger to everybody and to feel that guilt, to feel guilt, Jeff, a guilt that Linnea never felt
at all.
Does that mean that she's actually different? She says she can feel Linnea. She feels two people. I mean, think about it. Kira is a very different person. Kira has what does make you you? Isn't it a big piece of it is the collection of your experiences, i.e. your memories?
You'd think so. Yeah, it makes sense.
And those pieces, well, if those are taken away and you have a new set of memories, are you now not a different person effectively? You have a different core belief system. What did you say at the beginning? I do this because I sense I was here to help people.
Yeah, it's what I've always done.
So, but Linnea comes into this world, destroyer of worlds, and she's like, oh, you guys have killed your entire population by destroying your fertility. And now you're all old and you're all about to die. Let me help. Like Linnea, that's Linnea was ostensibly trying to help. So are you the same person? Are you responsible for the actions of someone in another life? I do have another one that I kind of like. This one is, are you responsible for the results of somebody else's actions if you were the one who allowed them to carry out those actions?
Okay. It's like when they're saying we let her through the Stargate, we gave her this information, this is on us.
Yeah, so we've got to fix it. We broke it, we got to fix it. How much responsibility does SG-1/Earth really bear for Linnea and coming out here to do all this? I think of the movie Captain America Civil War.
Okay.
And that movie bases its premise and in a lot of ways of particularly with Black Panther's father, T'Chaka, I think was his name in the thing. But he talks about like, am I responsible for the actions of that bad guy over there if I don't go do anything? Or is that person actually still responsible for their own actions? And really what the show tried to seem to say was like, look, I'm not responsible for their actions. I am responsible to be safe and for the things that I have to do. I'm not actually responsible for their actions. Well, but you have the power to stop them. But that doesn't mean that I should. That doesn't mean that I should go do all this other stuff and put other people at danger for that piece. Again, here, when you're moving from path to path, you're making the best call you possibly can make as you go forward. They released her from prison and then they gave her knowledge and set her out upon the universe in the Stargate system. But does that mean that they're responsible for the actions that Linnea commits while she's out there? You know, Jeff, there was something that we saw happen a lot in season 1 where the show would kind of present an idea and then do nothing with it. And not even let you decide as an audience member. They just presented the thought and then never followed it up. They never explored it. They never looked at it from one way, looked at it from the other way. They just moved on with their plot. And that's exactly what this episode did. So, Jeff, when I really look at it, I don't see a whole lot of messages, so to speak, come out. I do like the one about, is Kira responsible for Linnea? Are they the same person? This is way worse, though, than Passing Through Gethsemane. Passing Through Gethsemane was phenomenal.
Great episode.
This one, not. I do think there is still something there. So I'm inclined to give this one like 1.5, maybe 2 chevrons. But that's being generous, I think, because they just didn't do anything with it. They didn't discuss it one way or the other.
They brought it up. They said it.
Yep.
And then never even brought it up again.
Precisely.
I think this episode doesn't present messages. It presents philosophical questions that are ripe for debate and questions to which, in our understanding, there's not a right answer or a definitive answer.
But the thing is, they don't debate the question. I'm okay if you don't provide an answer. I'm okay if you leave the audience to decide on what their own answer is. Perfectly fair. But have that debate, like it's ripe for the picking. If you're gonna bring it up, make the debate happen. And yeah, that's just Brent's own personal opinion.
Well, I think that's the difference between this being a 1.5 chevron episode and a 4 chevron episode is have some of the debate, and then we can pop you up to just over the halfway mark.
I think it would have been a much stronger episode, to be frank with you, because the rest of it really was just sort of Daniel pining over something. Like, anyway, Jeff, that's what I mean. I give it 1.5-ish, chevrons. Here's what I want to know from the folks out there. How many chevrons do you give this one? Let us know down in the comments. Jeff, you, my friend, get to rank this episode. You get to put it on the 100% completely accurate and definitive ranking of season 3 of Stargate SG-1. You said this was going to be a top 5 episode, and then you said it wasn't going to be. So I'm going to go from the bottom 5. We got 10 episodes in there right now. The bottom 5 are Dead Man's Switch, Rules of Engagement, Demons, Point of View, and Seth. Jeff, I have vamped all I could to give you time to look up your notes on those previous episodes. What do you got?
Yeah, I needed that time, which was great. A point that I didn't make earlier that I'm going to make here, because this is the definitive point for me on where it lands. So you picked the right half of the current top 10 to read off, because it's going to be in that lower half. Here's the thing. A couple episodes ago, I threw a bomb that got you all bent out of shape, got our audience all bent out of shape, when I'm like, Jack was wildly inappropriate when he kissed Alt Sam. He was out of line, and that was wrong.
I think you're wrong, but okay.
Daniel was Jack with Alt Sam in this one.
Yeah.
Just like, she's like, hey, I'm probably married to somebody else and have another commitment. And he's like, and I just lost my wife. Also, let's do this. Let's get it on.
Let's do this before we find out who you're married to.
Before we know anything. While I'm feeling open and vulnerable and like ready to rock in this window, and you don't know.
While we can still claim ignorance, while you're still on a break.
Yeah, exactly. Well, come on, Ross. Well, you still have this hall pass,
right?
From pesticides. Let's get this thing taken care of. I think in the episode watch, you asked and this is going to be our second like direct Babylon 5 reference, but you asked, is this Dr. Franklin level bad? Because in the episode, I don't remember what the episode was, but basically Dr. Franklin in Babylon 5, if you aren't familiar, there's this lady with amnesia who showed up, and immediately he's like, why don't you come stay in my quarters? I got a bed right here. Yeah.
Well, she'd been in cryo freeze for like 100 years or something stupid like that.
Wow. And her husband just died as well. Not quite Dr. Franklin bad, but I actually put this at the same level as Jack being inappropriate, which we all have our own takes on stuff. That inappropriateness plus the fall apart in the last bit of this episode makes Past and Present our number 11 episode on the season.
I don't disagree. I'm sorry, Past and Present. I got to tell you though, Jeff, this was an episode I was like, oh my gosh, we got to do this episode. Yeah, that's okay. We can leave it there.
So a thing I forgot to do, we didn't do the normal handoff, but we are tracking a number of things as our Watch of Stargate. None of those things happened in this episode.
None of them happened. So they'll all stay right where they are. And we'll give you guys those numbers next time there's an update for it.
Exactly.
All right, Jeff. Well, that is going to do it for Past and Present. Thank the Lord. Next time we are watching, Jeff, just get ready. It's a two-parter.
Oh, really? Okay.
Get ready for an extra long episode from us here because we decided we're doing these together. Two-parter, it's 2 episodes. Jolinar's Memories, followed by The Devil You Know. That is clearly a part 1, part 2. Jolinar's Memories, The Devil You Know. The title, at least one of the 2 titles, should give you some sort of a clue as to where we might be going. I've also told you it's a 2-parter, big marquee episode going into the season break, all that sort of stuff. So, Jeff, you like to make your guesses about what you think it might be. What you got for us?
So, Jolinar's Memories is going to be taking us through Jolinar's memories, right? Like, here's the stuff that happens. It's going to be a bunch of flashback scenes or in the past with Sam in the place of Jolinar. We'll have Martouf is going to be in the episode.
Yep.
We'll probably get a lot of their relationship and things like that. It's going to culminate. The Devil You Know. Maybe the Tok'ra aren't going to be the big heroes that we've thought them to be. And through those memories, and we're not just living those memories for us to watch them. This is going to be Sam like somehow experiencing these memories, and she's going to come out of it and be like, whoa, these guys aren't so great. Maybe we'll even see Jacob. He'll come back and there'll be a little tension and he'll be like, yeah, actually you're right, we are doing this other stuff also and not so good. And then SGC's we're horrible genociders, just like the Goa'uld. Also, maybe we're not so bad. And so it's going to be Sam bringing that stuff up, and then I think Jacob and Hammond having some conversations around like, what does this mean for our relationship? Conflict, boom, boom, boom. And then at the end, Tok'ra and SGC will remain allied.
Jeff, I can tell you are a good guesser.
You can't tell me that. You do often.
I will tell you you're a good guesser. Yeah. And we'll see what happens right here next time on Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Don't forget, wherever you are getting your podcast, your YouTube videos, your Patreon views, whatever they are, don't forget to subscribe first and foremost. And while you're there, please leave us a rating and review if that is available, particularly if you're listening to the show on Apple Podcasts. And please, above all else, the number one way to spread love for the show is to share the show with a friend, somebody you know that loves Stargate SG-1, or somebody like my friend Jeff over there who is getting into the gate for the very first time. All right, with all of that, we are going to get out of here. So until next time, folks.
Hey, Brent.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
I've been thinking this whole time about this. I don't know. there's all these philosophical and existential questions that were brought up in this episode. So I want to pose one really quick. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
Well, the owl says
Vorlicks.
For crying out loud.